How long do we need?
You want to go into executive session?
No pressure, shouldn't we?
Yeah, what do you think, 15 minutes?
Yeah, 15, and then after we're done with that, I'll like a short one, with just me, you guys.
Okay. I make a motion that we go into executive session for 15 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel,
Second.
including these three, Lisa and the commissioners.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
I make a motion that we go into executive session for 5 minutes to discuss non-elected personnel with Phil, Lisa and the commissioners,
Mike's sitting there.
and Mike. Sorry, Mike.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of March 16th, 2022.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.
And then one other thing. I got the invoice for your KNRC dues and that's been paid. They're asking, they say they typically ask for a representative from the county who can communicate with and who will attend annual meetings. So which one of you would like to do that and give them your email and phone number?
I can do that.
Okay. I will take care of that.
Do we have any tax roll corrections today?
No. Lisa, has there been any communications about the KCCA? It's the end of April. Been signed.
Okay, morning.
Hey, how's it going?
Morning.
Good. We have a couple board members.
Yeah, come on up, pull those chairs up.
Oh, yeah.
Morning.
How's it going? How's it going?
So I don't know, so we have Alex Vosper, he's board president of economic development. Travis Allen, he's our newest board member, and then Tyler Axman, also a board member.
Okay.
So this morning, I think we wanted to kind of talk to you guys about what are some strategic priorities for the county. In 2020, we had kind of done a survey to see what are citizens concerned about, and the top three things were people wanting jobs and business, new jobs, new businesses, and then it was followed by housing and childcare. The biggest thing we've been seeing is if you don't have housing and childcare, you're not going to be able to have a lot more jobs or new businesses because there's not the infrastructure to support that. So we had our strategic planning session as an organization at the end of February. And so what we kind of have outlined as strategic priorities for us would be continuing business support, property development. That's kind of a new category we're calling, but that I think better encapsulates looking at the housing development we're doing. It encapsulates kind of the industrial port project that's, in process. As opposed to before, the port would have fallen more under business support and the housing under community development. But I think there is a need for more of the property development in the county, since we don't have other outside development organizations, building and developing here. Then, again, continuing with community development, and then there's still the need for organizational development within our capacity as an organization to serve the county.
So yeah, we kind of wanted to get this in front of you. We put together a strategic plan. This is the third one I've done since we're on the board, and just kind of tell you where our heads are at. And then we kind of wanted to just gauge if you guys like the direction we're headed, just get it in front of you and what we've been doing, just some feedback. And then we'd also like to know if you're ready for us to bring you another ARPA presentation, where you guys stand on that. We thought about bringing that to you today, but we'd kind of like some feedback on what you guys would like to see that ARPA funding go towards and kind of what level. I don't know if you can give us that information or not, but we don't want to come back with another request that's not even close to what you guys are thinking, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And you guys are working with, the thing that I hear the most about is the childcare and the housing. That's what I hear as a commissioner. You guys are working with your childcare board
Working with the chapter committee.
closely.
Mhm.
I've talked to a few people on their board, and they think that they may have a request at some point for some ARPA funding. So I don't know, you know, I would hate to double dip, I guess, essentially, if we're gonna solve a funding issue.
Yeah, I would agree that the committee and the EcoDevo probably need to be together in that request and
Yeah.
not go in opposite directions
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Which maybe we need to have them come present to us what they're thinking at some point too.
Yeah.
So,
And I do sit on that committee, so there's some continuity, and I know what economic development's doing, and I know what the committee is, so
Yeah,
it will be unified when the ask comes, as opposed to two separate asks. Really.
so in your guys' opinion, what's your, I mean, I see these four
Mhm.
things and then some subsets of those. What's the main, I know it's hard to just throw a dart at the wall, but what's, or like top one or top two? What would be-
so kind of what we've focused on in the past is what can we easily get funded and what can we get done the quickest, you know? And it's been housing over the years, there's been lots of funding, outside funding available to do those kind of things. We have kind of been mulling around the idea of another housing project, but being in the middle of one right now, I don't know how far we want to, extend ourselves and get another one going until we kind of gauge what kind of vacancy levels we're going to have in the current project. But,
And related to housing, what I will add is, so what we do know is the state had done a statewide housing assessment, and they published the results last year. So the moderate income housing program is gonna receive a lot more funding. They've had about an annual $2 million budget for funding, and it's gonna probably be close to like 50 million this year with the influx of like ARPA funds and, other things from the federal government. So being able to have matching funds to go after more of that grant funding, we've utilized that a fair bit in the county. We had moderate income housing for economic development to build the duplex and the single family home in Stafford. That was the type of funding that was used for the down payment assistance program. It's also the type of funding that we helped the land bank in Stafford get to do their renovation projects. And it has a lot less restrictions on it, and so a lot more people qualify for the utilization of that. So I guess that's something we see on the horizon where there might be opportunity, but we're gonna have to come up with matching funds. So
personally, for me, I'd love to tackle the childcare problem, we haven't figured it out, and I don't know. To me, that's been one of the biggest hurdles. My wife just turned down a great job because we literally couldn't make the childcare side of it work until we get the kids old enough to where they're all in
Yeah,
school.
and there's multiple
you know?
families like that. I mean,
Exactly, so, yeah, if you guys got any ideas on that front, it's a tough cookie because it's like a lot of things we do, if it made sense and it worked, it'd already be done,
So, so from my talks with a couple of the child care committee board members, it's not so much people that are interested in being a provider, it's a place that's qualified to do it.
It's a location.
Is that, am I right?
location's the biggest concern. We don't have excess housing. Most people don't wanna operate out of their homes, I guess would be fundamentally. So they need a different place to be able to operate out of, and there's just not.
And then you need
Space
that
that
place to
meets the
qualify for the needs.
What I've always said, and it's kind of, like you said, throwing the dart at the wall, but the best way to do it, I think, is to go through the school somehow where you've got an infrastructure already in place and someone who can raise capital to get things done. And I don't know if we can kickstart something like that or be involved with them, but, I'm not on the child care committee, so maybe I shouldn't be the one talking, but that's, I don't know. The school's gotta be willing to do it, and I think Stafford and St. John have both got 4-year-old preschools.
That's what I was going to say, it looks like, the schools so far, they're involved in preschool, but what are you gonna do with the ones who don't qualify to go into preschool?
Yeah.
And
I think too, what I'm seeing with the child care committee is like they did a really intensive needs assessment, so we have some really great data showing the need. Again, it's coming down to location, And I think the reality is that we're gonna look at having to do new construction to actually make some good progress in solving it. There's some things where the school district here in St. John is in the process of having a property, acquiring like a space that they'll be able to run one provider out of. So that will be, great when that happens. The committee has looked at several other properties. There's a couple where we might be able to make proposals. Some of it's still getting a little more concrete plan. But location becomes the biggest barrier. And so I think that's gonna fall under property development, in terms of looking at are you bringing in a modular? Are you looking at building like a multi-bay building? There is stuff where I would like to see, economic development's applying for like a $5,000 grant through Golden Belt to see if we can get money for some feasibility. Like, there are some properties, but they're gonna take work, and we need to know how much is that gonna cost. Like, the sticker price might be great on the beginning, $25,000 for a property, but if it's gonna need $200,000 in renovations to make it feasible,
Yeah, you might as well build
then,
a new.
you might be better off building something.
It'll cost far more than it did a year or two ago.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say on housing. I would love to see the city, and specifically, we're in St. John, but even Stafford or Maxville, the cities work with EcoDevo to develop a small housing development. And I don't know that now it's feasible because of you used to be able to come in and have a builder from Wichita or Hutchinson and knock out these $250,000 houses with unfinished basements that families can live in. And now those are
Now they're
400.
Yeah.
And I think that $250,000 works. I think that there's, you could rattle off 10 families right now that would buy a $250,000 house if we had one, for your family. But to build that, that 400, get into that 400, I think that it would be sweet if we could do something, as far as a small development and get 6 or 7, 8 houses on a development. But
And that was similar to Carolyn's proposal that we talked about a little bit. She wanted to basically, okay, we've got this, 10 home project going. It's not ideal, they're small, supposed to be low income homes. How do we scale this plan up to a bigger home with a basement under it? What's that gonna cost? And we're getting some bids from Gonzalez and some other things. And then how do we present a plan to, okay, St. John, this is what you need to build, we'll build this home here, we need this from you to do it type deal, because we can't do it all on our own. And the land banks have been great with that too, finding a site's not as easy as some people think it is sometimes, but yeah, so we definitely are interested in looking into some programs like that too.
yeah,
I've got a funeral I have to leave here in a little bit for, so I'm not rushing you guys along, but I guess, some of your questions that you asked right up front as far as ARPA funding and how we'd like to see the money spent or what our ideas are. I think we're getting 2 rounds of $400,000 out of the ARPA, which is $800. Part of that goes into administrative costs. Kind of the things that we've already had ear tagged for it is we'd like to get a new 4-H building over there. We'd like to see 4-H grow in our county, and I think having a new building over there would help it out, make it more beneficial. We did have is it Golden Belt Telephone?
yeah.
Came in. There's some grant funding available. Then they were wondering if the county would, put in a little bit of money, and it would basically bring wireless to every home. About 2/3?
Yeah, fiber.
Yeah, fiber.
Fiber.
What did I say?
Wireless.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Fiber to basically the south, 2/3 of the county.
Yeah.
Which would be the majority of our population, and that would be kind of a big deal.
I do know an update just from Golden Belt. They did not go after the grant because they didn't have enough matching commitment to be competitive, just so you know.
That wasn't a hard commitment from us.
Yeah.
That was just if it happens, we
Yeah.
could give you this much.
Yeah. And then another big deal with the county is our landfill. We basically have enough room out there for about another year and a half. We're out of room to dig pits, so we're been negotiating to buy ground right next to it. If we can't get that done, we're gonna have to buy other ground. The core drilling and engineering on the landfill itself is probably gonna be around $125,000. So that's something, and that is something that it states in the deal that the ARPA money can be used for. So there's gonna be a little bit of ARPA money left over, but I mean, there's not gonna be a lot of it. If we end up giving you guys, some money on the ARPA, I would like to see, the houses that you guys are building, I don't know if you guys have been able to pay cash for those with the grants or whether you've been carrying a loan. I would like to see you pay off your loans more than go ahead and keep the loans on this and then take this money and acquire more debt. I would think that the quicker you pay off the loans on the projects you have, that frees money up for doing bigger loans or bigger projects down the road. And that's my opinion.
We appreciate the feedback, guys. I don't know, the only other thing would be kind of a level, a target for us to shoot for, what's in your minds, thinking the funding range would be, but if you're not comfortable providing that, we'll just take a stab at it and see what you guys say.
I think, but for sure less than half, because we've about got half spoken for, so.
Yeah, we've got over half spoken for right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's the landfill that's throwing us into the.
Sure.
I mean,
We've
that's
got
gonna
money.
have to be.
Yeah.
Exactly, that's essential right there.
We've got money in reserve, for a project like that, but we'd rather keep that, in reserve.
And to your note, Todd, I'm in agreement with you. We've got a project that's pretty easily gonna cash flow, but at the same time, if you take the debt payment away and then all your funding come in from those housing projects are unrestricted, then you can do other things with it.
And you may be in a better position to leverage for a new project, take that cash flow and leverage upwards instead of
Yeah.
being leveraged on the current level.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interest rates will be going up, not down though.
Oh, yeah.
Keep that in mind too.
Yeah, I think it'd be best to get your stuff paid off, because
Well, no,
Yeah.
that's fixed, isn't it?
So we have an construction operating loan. We currently aren't having to draw on it because of having the revenue. It's a reimbursement grant though, so we did at the beginning, have to draw on it, but now we don't. We won't till we get to probably the last two houses in Maxville, and then that will convert to a mortgage and we're locked in at like 4%, like a little less than that. So that one at least isn't bad, but
yeah.
But
There's
you're
a
really
potential
only,
reason to keep the debt around from a pure business standpoint.
yeah, you're talking
I
about,
mean, they got 80-90% equity into these houses.
Yeah.
There's $1 million that came into the county that only happened because of EKD, but that wouldn't have happened otherwise. There's 10 houses here that, or will be here that weren't here a year ago. So.
Yeah, I think that's a good deal. They're small houses, but they're good starter houses. I mean, I
always tell people it wasn't my first choice, but it was the only thing we could get done.
yeah.
And it was
amount-
gonna be a really good amount of income coming in that we can do some unrestricted things going forward. We just gotta keep them full of people, that's the main thing.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna be a concern. We have a waiting list on all of the properties currently. We already had someone move in March 1 to the house that was completed in Hudson, and we have 2 people already lined up for Stafford, and I haven't opened the 3rd house just because of construction on those won't finish till the end of May, so I don't wanna get too far ahead, but we have a waiting list for all of the houses, so.
I'm good to hear it. I think you
I
guys are
think,
doing a good
yeah, I
job.
think that's what I was getting ready to say. I think you guys are doing a good job. And, your term,
I'm up in December, so.
Yeah.
well, you probably have to change the bylaws so you can keep, your guys' terms are 10-year terms. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was life.
That's
The only thing is if you get off, you have to find your replacement, a good replacement.
That's,
Alex, that's,
yeah, I know. I got a couple in mind, but it's harder than me, I think, to get, well, I mean, you guys know.
yeah.
I know you guys got grant funded on your last houses. Is that an every year deal that you have to apply for funding? Or is that something where you know how much money we're wanting to invest in it to see how many houses you could fund?
So previously, we got grants just for X number. So one of our grants was for 4 houses, the other was for the 5, and that was a grant loan combo. So moving forward, we kind of have a sense of what we might need to make a program work here in terms of needing 1.5 million or 1.6 million to do 10 houses that are larger, on basements. And so if we could look at, asking MIH for $500,000 of that, how do we structure a program that would have county buy-in and city buy-in? over years, as opposed to asking for maybe a one-time contribution, you know, can you commit this amount for 5 years, to make that work? So, we have some ideas on how to structure that. So that would kind of probably be what we could look at coming back to you with a proposal of, for this amount of commitment, we could look at getting this match from the cities going for this grant. If we're successful in that, we'd be able to build this number of houses. If you didn't want that commitment and wanted this commitment, this is what it would look like. We're also doing a housing needs assessment right now. Our AmeriCorps Vista Found has been working, and so we're looking at what does affordability look like here, what's our vacancy, and some of the info on our current stock,
Yeah,
so.
I can tell you from my experience that my parents are getting ready to move out of St. John, and from the number of calls that they get for a family type house, it seems like that's our need. And maybe I don't see, you know, the rental side of things, but you talk to Jamie at the city in St. John, and I know she's got a list of people wanting rental houses, so maybe the need's just widespread, but I know we have a big time need, and I'm not saying there's an easy, you know, with the construction costs, I don't know that there's an easy way to solve the family basement type house.
And I think that would be the goal with a new development, is that we'd have, like with moderate income housing funding, like we'd have the option to sell. So like with our
Yeah.
current rental with all the restrictions, we really just can't sell those. At least not till the compliance period is up in 20 years, but like for new housing, we'd want to leave the option to sell, but also around, because there are, especially when newer young professionals are coming and might have ties to the area, they need a place, you know, teachers need a place. But there is a need for families here, families with ties to have housing, and who would choose to purchase if that was the
Yeah.
option, so.
Well, that's been my whole deal. You can buy a heck of a house for $800 a month rent, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know if most people realize that, but.
yeah.
I think it's the being tied to Stafford County and the 20% down payment that gets a lot.
Yeah.
You know, the
Yeah.
real market, so the money.
Like you guys thought.
Yeah, I agree, I mean,
I've gotta go.
but it is the 20%, the house ownership, and then taxes and insurance and everything, you know, utilities that adds onto it, that, you know, that's why people, I think, are doing the rent, but, yeah, I would love to see something, you know, I don't know how it looks, but if you could get your streets and sewer paid for and your lots ready to donate, I think that people would be open to building on a development, you know, if you
Have
had.
some of those essentials
Yeah.
already done, yeah.
But to me, it makes sense if you're gonna invest in infrastructure. I see the lot type deal, you know, with the land bank having lots around, but I do think there's added value in doing a specific development
Right.
where you're investing in a new area, you know, new street, new sewer, and
Well, people may be more willing to build on something that they know it's not building next to it.
if you could figure out how to do it, if you could figure out how to do it to where they're not coming in with specials and they have neighborhood revitalization to build, that's quite a bit of, I mean, you're not gonna see that in Hutch or Wichita or any of the suburbs of those towns. I mean, they're gonna be paying specials. If you move into a development, about anywhere you're paying specials. But
Well,
keep up the good
thanks
work.
for your time,
Yeah,
guys.
thank
And we'll, go back to the drawing board, see what we come up with.
All right, that'll work.
Thanks, guys.
See you. Misty.
Excuse me.
Good morning.
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 One thing I want to discuss with you guys too, that I don't have on the agenda yet. We talked about replacement of Medic 4 Stafford's unit that was nickel and diming us constantly. I wanted to get your guys' permission to call in ARB, which is who our medic unit is from, Medic 2, to try to start getting that ball rolling. Medic 4 crew can actually have some input on how they want it set up and stuff like that, but I wanted to get
Yeah.
your guys' input from
That's,
you.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we were planning on, right, Clay? Because we had a year where we didn't have an ambulance payment, and now we're gonna,
And it's built into the budget too.
Yeah.
It's still in there for ambulance payments, so, but we have options when it comes to payment for it. So I just wanted to get your guys' permission before I call them and get them down here.
yeah, that's fine with me.
Do they do their own financing?
Yes, we do have that
The
option
last-
as well.
On the last one, we went through Sterling.
Okay.
We actually did a down payment on the last one, and then we set it up
Did we?
for the payments to come in.
Was the one before was
Yeah,
Sterling?
we
Was
put
the
money
bank?
down, yeah.
Okay,
We had
Might
money
have
to use
time
towards
for
the
it.
new ambulance, which is why we did that, so.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
that works.
And then I'd like to call an executive session for a job application that I have, I'd like
Okay.
to review with you guys.
10 minutes?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
10 minutes? I make a motion that we go into executive session to discuss non-elected personnel with the commissioners Misty and Mike and Lisa. For, non-elected personnel.
10 minutes?
Yep.
second.
Got a motion and a second to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Got anything else?
Let me do this and.
If I remember right, I think Baxter Springs is on Route 66, the old Route 66.
Yes.
You got anything else?
Nope,
We'll adjourn.
okay.